Hey guys, I want to make this video on a follow-up to my last video. My last video I talked about why you should kind of stockpile anabolics in a potentially shit hits the fan type of situation, or apocalypse. That's an extreme situation, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. It could be just that there's a shortage for whatever reason. I discussed those in my last video. So if you haven't watched my last video, check that out. This video I'm going to talk about why anabolics would be such a great thing in any type of emergency situation, to be honest. It could be that you're pulling somebody from a burning car. That's an emergency situation. Or it could be actual war. Like if I was a Navy SEAL or like a special forces guy and I was breaching a doorway with a shotgun, and there could be somebody on the other side and throwing flashbangs in and whatnot. I think I would like to be on some type of performance enhancing drug, to be honest. Right? First of all, you're thinking clearly, you're stronger, you're on that alpha state, whatever that means. I think you guys know what that means. Though when it comes down to making decisions and being assertive and dominant, and being able to fuck somebody up if it came down to it, have the strength to do so. Now, I'm going to just go over a few reasons why anabolics would be good in a potential, let's call it a zombie apocalypse situation, just because we all know that. But it could be something like a World War III scenario, a shortage of food, whatever else, due to a wartime measures that are being in place. And at that point in time, like I mentioned in my last video, we might not have the anabolics available to buy anymore. So we should have that there. Now, which types of ones would I recommend? Obviously, testosterone as a base. If you've done steroids for some time, you're going to be doing testosterone already, and we always need that as a base. You can always come down to a TRT dose as low as levels of 100 to 150 milligrams a week to be pretty good physiological dose of testosterone. So I'll leave it there with that. Okay, that just kind of speaks for itself. But it's not just the strength and like the physical aspects of that's the obvious that I wanted to get that out of the way first. The second is, what were testosterone or anabolics used for to begin with, or what are they still used for legitimate purposes to this day? It's muscle wasting disorders. Okay? And if say for example there's food shortages, or your high energy expenditure, like think about somebody who's doing a prep cycle where they're in this big caloric deficit, but they're taking some anabolics where they're not going to lose their muscle mass and they still got the strength to carry on through that prep cycle. It's that's the extreme war that they're going through to become professional bodybuilders in their bodies, that potentially on parallels what we might have to go through ourselves as far as muscle wasting disorder. If you don't have the proper food, or you're really rationing your food out, the calories you're putting in, you might have a month's worth of food if you're lucky, but that's only a month's worth, so you might need to ration that out longer, and you're only eating a quarter can of beans a day as opposed to a full can of beans a day. I'm just saying. In which case, drugs like Anavar, Primobolan, Masteron, NPP. NPP is great for the strength, and that might be something you add in a little bit of amounts if you have that, if you're lucky to have that. But things like Anavar is a great, that's what it's used for, muscle wasting disorders. People who have HIV, cancers, things like that. That's one of the reasons why they used anabolics. And if we're in we have a caloric deficit, but we have to have a high amount of energy expenditure, then it's perfect for that. So that's one thing. Now, I already mentioned the strength that might be needed, but now I'm going to go into the psychological reasons why that this is important, especially if you already have been doing it for some time. I wouldn't recommend as soon as the apocalypse happens, you start this. You know what I mean? But if you're already doing it and you have that like few months worth of advance and you're doing it, you have the focus, the mental acuity. You have the ability of leadership to persuade people around you to the right choices, as opposed to being caught up in some chaos of people who are making bad choices. Because how often is that not the case in society, on like some microcosm of like even personal relationships and things, dealing with even your spouse, that, you know, being on that focus, a calm, assertive state gets you through those moments of turmoil in life. And that's kind of what being a man is, like in an existential state, but realistically, to be able to make focused decisions and being of power and of persuasion. So it will help with that. And lastly, it will help you deal with any type of potential injury that might happen because of the healing effects. So if, you know, the worst thing that can happen, say you sprain your ankle and you're on like a hike in, like, say, Banff National Park or somewhere like that, middle of nowhere, that could be a life or death situation. Just as in an emergency situation, if you are in the stage of healing, the better you heal, the better you are likelihood of survival. If that makes sense. And even things like primobolan and some other compounds help with immune system health. So if there's the likelihood of infection or contamination of any types, then you're that much better as well. But that's a side note of everything. Obviously, I want to come back to just being strong, because if there is a window of emergency window, like afterwards, where you need to be controlling your immediate situation around you, which is all we can really do in life to begin with, then we want to be able to do it well. If you have your family, your wife, your kids, your elderly mother and father, then it might be a matter, you might be the essential government and governing body of your local environment, your microcosm, if not your community. And you might have to deal with neighbors that might not be the most, they might be a little bit difficult to deal with. I'll put it that way. So you have to be on a level of assertiveness, aggressiveness, and acuity that will go through the other side. It's like I used to surf back in the day, and when you're going through the break, like the water is crashing over you, you do a maneuver called an Eskimo roll to go under the wave and then come out the other side. So when there's all this chaos, if you don't, you just get crashed and you get tumbled into the rocks or wherever else, into the reef. If you know how to maneuver that turmoil, those troubled waters, then you can come out the other side and very calm, and then paddle to a safe area. It's that easy. So I'll leave it there, guys. Getting a bit philosophical, existential in this, but it's, again, a follow-up to my last video, why take anabolics, and it could be something as simple as an emergency situation, being able to have the strength, being able to not waste away because of your environment, like you still have strength over time, and have the mental capacity. It's a mental battle, it's a war on our minds, everything. We have the mental ability to deal with a situation at hand to our best ability. I'll leave it there, guys. What do you think? Leave in the comment section below. This isn't like the type of video I make normally, but I think it's a very important one. So I'll leave it there, guys. Peace.